Welcome, everyone, to episode 416 of Just Joshing. I am your host, Joshua Penteleresco. I write stuff in podcast 2. Today, the cast of February's Dog, Paul Chinook, Quinn Teechma, join the podcast as they talk about their wonderful movie. And like I said, it's always interesting to talk to people that do film, because film is a very creative but often underappreciated in terms of the work that goes into making anything like it. A movie is an amazing miracle, and I was glad to actually have this chat with both of them. So, Quinn, Paul, thanks for coming on my show. All right. As by the time this recording hits, it's going to be the week of Alice Zero launching. I'm nervous as hell, and I'm excited, and I hope you guys are too. It'll be out tomorrow. If you haven't bought it yet, the link will be below. Thank you very much to anyone that has bought the book. I appreciate it. Kenzie appreciates it. It's an amazing thing. All right, let's just get to our conversation with Paul and Quinn, shall we?
This episode of Just Joshing is sponsored by Indie Imprint. Indie Imprint supports creators by creators. Whether you are writing a book or creating a video game, Indie Imprint works with its clients to produce, edit, and present their projects to the world. For more information, check out their website at www.indieimprint.com.
My recorder is on. Zoom recording is also just about, so we are recorded in every conceivable possible way, ladies and gentlemen. I am Joshua Penteleresco, and my guests are the cast of February's Dog. So I always ask this in my podcast. Guys, if you have anything incriminating you'd like to say, make it good.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because we're live. We gotta make this as entertaining as we possibly can. I mean, we gotta go for like something above clubbing a baby seal, because that's just not cool. So just kind of get into the strive of this. But I am with the cast of February's Dog. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves first, and then we'll talk about the production, and we'll just kind of see where things go.
Well, Paul, you're the big dog. You go first.
Hi, I'm Paul Chinook. I wrote February's Dog, produced it, and played Dale in it. So, started 2.5 years ago, I guess it was, writing it. And now we're just in post-production, and things are looking pretty good.
Hi, I'm Quinn Teechma. I played Emily Walters in the film. Paul cast me, and I was really excited to work on the project.
All right, so I'm going to start, by the way, feel free to contribute as you can, but I'm going to start with Paul real quick. So Paul, we talked a little bit of this off the air right before we started. So this is real life right now mirrors the premise of us trying to survive in a tough economy. So I imagine that this film, especially with everything that happened, had a lot of problem-solving factors to go into it. So you want to talk a little bit about some of that?
Oh, for sure. As a first-time filmmaker, going from writing a script to producing it, it's going to provide a lot of variables. I mean, for one, when you're working with small budgets, trying to maximize what money you do have presents a lot of challenges for problem solving, even when it comes to providing or creating compelling content and a great film and doing it on a low budget. So a lot of that had to be worked into even the script, a lot of locations that we could get that would still look great and get them for a decent budget. And then working with different sponsors and creating different business relationships and friendships so that you can give people warm fuzzies. You can't give them paychecks when you're a low budget, when you're starting off with low budget. Yeah, so I mean, there was always problem solving, but that's really at the heart of what filming is.
And so, I'm amazed. Like I did a film project approximately way back about 10 years ago in the Calgary Underground Film Festival. The one of the things I was actually really impressed, with all due respect to you, Quinn, I didn't really appreciate what actors did to a film until I actually watched them work, and do a job. I feel like with a low budget film, I think there's a lot more. There's the story definitely carries the beats, but I also think the acting carries it a lot more in a low budget film, because you don't have the luxury of hiding behind pretty effects or high production values. The story has to sell, and I feel and if the story doesn't work, right, a good actor can make a bad script good, a good script great. but it really, I think there's a lot more. I think the actors and actresses and everybody involved, the crew, it's really more hands-on. It's up to them whether or not the film is good or not in a low budget. Is that an accurate assessment?
I would say your team in general is the biggest thing that matters when it comes to having a successful film, like low budget or not low budget. I mean, Paul's been great, and Jill, who's doing a lot of our promotion, has been great. And having like our little group that's really promoting the film itself and working hard to attain success with it has been the biggest key factor in finding like the success that we have been and getting to the level that we have been. I just think far often people just try to do it on like completely on their own, and I feel like if you're going to try to do a project all on your own, you're never gonna be able to get to the next level. You know, to get up to that level of professionalism, you have to realize that success comes when you start working together with other people and when you all grow together and build each other up.
You feel the same way, Paul?
I definitely see what I think you're saying there. I mean, I think a lot of people's perception is that actors are basically like puppets, so that if you've got a good director, if you've got a good script, it almost doesn't matter which puppet, so to speak, that you've got there. But I mean, you know, that human element really makes a difference. I mean, you know, production-wise, acting-wise, and I agree with you 100% that, you know, you've got this idea, okay, this is how the scene's going to go, and then you actually put it in a physical space and realize that it's 3 times larger, or that it's not quite laid out the same, you know, and ultimately at the end of the day, making that work is going to be visibly on your actors. You know, I watch films and never go, wow, that's a terrible set deck, or wow, you know, this or that's unbelievable. A lot of that criticism is pinned on the actors. So I definitely see what you're saying, and I think that we got really lucky with February's Dog. We've had some wonderful compliments at Cannes about the acting skill that we had, and geez, where did you find these actors? And those are wonderful compliments to get. And like Quinn was saying as well, I think it just shows team cohesion. A good goalie on a terrible hockey team still has terrible stats, right? Mm-hmm. So, like Quinn said, I think it all comes together. But yeah, you just really can't discredit any role in a film production. And once you get into it, just like you were saying, Josh, that you really start to get a lot more respect for that, where you're like, oh, all the hard work's done before the actors get there. Well, it's still hard work itself to make that compelling, right?
Well, yeah, because like just from my end of things, I just like I feel like making a film, a television, even a commercial doesn't really matter. It's like it's a merger between art and warehousing. You're building something up, you're shooting it, you're taking it down, you're building something up, you're shooting it, right? You're taking it down, you're building it. Like that's essentially what filming is. There's a lot of like practical, physical issues sometimes, like you mentioned, like sometimes a scene needs to be bigger, and then there's creative issues as well. There's creative challenges that come up, and then also, I mean, just the fact too that everybody involved that's usually in front, or in some people behind the camera too, right, beyond the directors and everybody else, they're creative people and they have a lot of good ideas. Like for me, I find the best like people in front of the camera, actors, actresses, can take a role and figure out their own part. Like, okay, what part of me can I actually apply into this film to make it feel realer? Because if you have to buy into it at some level. And on the flip side, I mean, for you, I'm sure from a writing perspective, Paul, that writing it and seeing it as a scene and then actually seeing the physical thing, it probably changed how you approach things creatively even going forward. Because now that you've actually gone from the beginning to end, like you have more of an understanding of how hopefully some things work better, so the next time maybe it's a better process, but you also have a lot more respect for just the logistics of it. Does that make sense?
It does. It really does. When you just start writing a script, it's basically words on the page. So one thing I started off with from day one was giving all the actors enough space to really make those characters their own and to modify their dialogue, offer suggestions, and really be part of the creative as well, so that there was real ownership there, and that, like you said, that all the creative people were invested, making sure that this works together. I mean, you know, the way I say things might be awkward coming out of somebody else's mouth and vice versa, so to make sure that that's all natural and flows. And really to show that those, to give the actors the ability to own the roles and really shine at them. It was a method that I wanted to try just because I had the utmost trust and respect for my actors, and I really think it proved out. So I'm a lot more confident with something like that moving forward. I mean, obviously, for something like, you know, if you're recreating the Gettysburg Address with Abraham Lincoln, you don't really have the room to modify the script, but in 95% of your projects, you do have the room to let the actors explore their roles. Quinn, how did you feel that worked out?
I think that was honestly a really key part in this film. Like, I felt like it helped us really get the characters, like get into the characters, and then get the two characters to vibe well with each other as well. Like you said, like even your handwriting started changing. Like we really started diving into the characters for these roles, and having a team behind us, and having, like, for me, having Paul give me that freedom to kind of make the character my own was so key. And there's so many moving parts in a production like this, and there's so much going on behind the scenes, on the days of the filming, after the scenes, post-production, and getting to learn all of that was, like, really, really cool. And like you said, you get to learn a little bit on each project, so I think a huge amount of it is just figuring out what things work as you go, what things don't work, and then repeating the things that do on your next project, and then trying to find better ways for parts that didn't really work really well.
So how long did you guys film this? Like, how many days did it take you to get the whole thing down?
What would be your guess?
I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet. What's the length of the film?
It'll turn out to be about 110 minutes, 110 to 115 minutes once we're all done.
I'm going to say 6 weeks.
Close. 14 days.
What?
14 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So no one slept. No one.
Well, we did it in 2 1-week blocks, essentially, and one of the other things that we worked on, with it being a low budget, was doing a lot of rehearsals ahead of time, so that by the time we got to location, when we were on set, that we were prepped and ready to go, and that we didn't need a whole lot of rehearsal time, and that there was a lot of great chemistry and a lot of good understanding. And I think that we really were able to breeze through a lot of our shoot dates because of that. And then obviously on the logistical side, Candace did a wonderful job of making sure that we weren't having to do huge travels, and that we had all of our locations kind of grouped together well to save even logistical time. Because honestly, as a producer, that's your biggest waste, I think, is when you're just paying people to drive or paying people to stand around because you haven't been thorough with understanding your locations and your logistics. So we really did a good job as a team on that, and the LNC style really were wonderful with how quick they were able to get all the scenes turned around too. So I think we got lucky that we skipped a few different things that I've kind of learned after we did everything, that when you get into post, even if you've got that perfect scene, sometimes it's nice to give yourself some safeties and some backups and just try a few different other emotional tones, just that once you get into the editing room, that if you had an unforeseeable negative when it comes to how scenes tie together, that you've got a few other different options or intros or ways that you exit it, so that you're giving your editor a bunch more room to make a good product there. But I think, all that being said, that we made magic happen in that 2 weeks, really. And a lot of the reviews that we've been getting so far, Screen Daily saying that we had one of the best trailers in Cannes was quite a testament to everything, the miracle that we pulled off, that's for sure.
Oh, movies are totally a miracle. So, did you guys? I'm just asking this from a direction standpoint. Did you give any of your actors like some improv? Obviously, you're talking about how making lines comfortable and things of that nature. Did anybody go out on a limb in any of this?
Did you, Quinn?
I would say we did a little bit more improv the second round of filming more so than the first. I mean, you and I, we rehearsed pretty well, so the thing is like a lot of our improv was actually like worked out during rehearsal, because we would try different lines and try a little bit of improv when we were rehearsing, and then soon our improv kind of turned into like, okay, now that's the line. Second round of filming, I'd say we did a little bit more on-site improv. There was like a few scenes, I'd say, where we just kind of winged it and they turned those are really fun.
You got an example, just out of curiosity, that you can talk about without spoiling anything?
I think the scene that we did in the car turned out pretty good for improv. I mean, we did it by the script and then said, hey, what happens if we go off page? And I think it just showed the evolution of the confidence of the actors that were in our film. That they knew the content well enough, they knew their characters well enough that they could get away from the script and not get lost. And, I know the first few times that I did it, it can be somewhat of an emotional challenge, because as soon as you go off that script, it feels like you're lost, or you're, oh my god, I'm in deep water, or what if I screw this up? And that's part of being a good actor and a good production as well, is you've got to take those risks. You've got to go a little bit off the path to see what's here, what's there. I mean, you ultimately have to be heading in the right direction the whole time, but explore the path a bit.
What's actually interesting about that too is even just while you're filming, when you're remaking, changing scenes as you're filming, and you're having to figure out, okay, well, we changed that. Now what do we got to change?
Continuity.
Figuring out what to change after that is kind of fun and wild.
Yeah. Oh, it's especially like if it's like a weather change. Like, where did you guys film this?
Mostly around Calgary, south part of Calgary, and then southern Alberta. So we shot in east of Okotoks, out on Gladys Ridge, Black Diamond, South Calgary, actually even North Calgary. We had one scene in North Calgary, and did we shoot anything in High River? I don't think we did, but yeah, mostly southern Alberta.
Okay.
And it was the spring, so pretty volatile weather.
Yeah.
But,
and this scene, hailstorm. Ah, crap. Now we fixed that. But no, it sounds like you guys had a lot of fun with this. So let's ask a big question, and then we'll get into some fun stuff here. What did you guys learn doing this? What's the biggest thing you took away from this?
Oh my God, there's so much. Goodness, the biggest thing, Paul. What would be the number one thing? I think
the biggest thing was confidence, that we actually do have the ability. I mean, it's one thing when we were first rehearsing, and especially that a lot of our cast weren't given big opportunities in films before, or TV series. So, we would spend all that time even rehearsing for a 4 or 5 line audition. And then I gave people, like even myself, that had never had a major role, all these roles. It could be overwhelming at first. I know I felt like, oh my God, am I over my head? Am I going to be able to pull this off? And with the right amount of work, I found that the answer was yes. And I saw that in Quinn, and I saw that in a lot of the other actors as well. That I think the biggest thing we learned is that it is hard work, but yes, we can do it. And then to fill in all the blanks from there. And I think once you do your first film, you get a good idea. Like, you think until you go to set for the first day to start filming, and then you're like, oh, okay, there's a lot to learn here, but it's a wonderful experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree, honestly. And even just like on top of the confidence, you're also right about just realizing, like, okay, I can do this. We're doing it. Now let's work together as a team and continue to make it happen. And it's also seeing the hurdles in front of you and seeing all of these crazy things that come up that are like, oh my God, how am I going to deal with that? And here's the next thing. Oh, here's the next hurdle. Here's the next. It's over and over and over again. It's just like keeps throwing you different things, one thing after another, and you just gotta learn to roll with the punches and stay positive and go with it.
That's really good life advice in general, especially for right now, I think. But so let's go this way. When was the moment you knew you could do this? And for both of you, I know that's a different answer, so that's why I'm asking this. When did you know, like, during the process of filming, because you talked about being overwhelmed, when did you know, I can do this?
Oh, I know mine.
Yeah.
I wonder if yours is the same, Paul. Well, I don't know if it is or not, but mine, we were filming it was the first scene we filmed, the very first one. Paul, you know which one this is. We're in a kitchen. And I think Paul and I both felt the same way, because we both walked out, and I'm sure there's the recording of the first set of this scene, and both of us kind of like look at each other, and I swear we were both thinking, oh no, do we remember any of our lines? just realizing, wow, I don't know how I remember all my lines, but they're all in there.
They're all. How about you?
It's real similar to Quinn. I mean, I'd been filming for one day prior, so I'd had that awkward experience with my other co-star, Kevin Davey. Same thing happened. They said action, and I'm like, I forgot everything. This is fantastic, right? And had a mini panic attack in the first two steps, and then, like Quinn was saying, somehow all that hard work comes together that you put into memorizing that script, and there is some part of your brain that knows that you're supposed to be saying these lines that we worked so hard on at this time, and it kind of takes over, and then you start to build the confidence from there, and then you don't have so much of an internal emotional battle. And I think for me, what I knew I could really do it is once we started to get into a lot more of the emotionally challenging content in the film, and to feel myself even in an internally compelling way dealing with it as an actor, because I think one of the most challenging things as an actor is you have to legitimately be able to take yourself to those emotional places in today's day and age with how close the camera is and how intimate with digital photography and all the rest of that every little flinch, every little gesture gets picked up, and you've got to convince yourself before you can convince anybody else. So even just having a compelling emotional Rolodex that you're able to work with really proves that you're a good actor. I mean, I don't know if I would call a newscaster, for instance, an actor just because they can memorize lines. And for me, it was really when you can connect it with emotions. And we've been given rave reviews by that, and I'm nothing but proud of the cast that we did put together, like Quinn and Kevin, and sadly Will, who couldn't make it today because of a work schedule.
So like I said, the flogging, but just like, wet noodle. Just get like one of those wet noodles, but then I digress.
But like we're showing extension cord.
Yeah.
Emotion talk. You think the scenes in the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's that's what see. That's what actors. I think that's what actors do. They're storytellers, but what they do is they emote. They do a performance in front of a crowd that's designed, if it's done well, to connect with an audience. Because it really, the script can be about a jar of dirt. That really doesn't matter. What matters is, I speak of this as a novelist and as someone that does other forms of storytelling. What matters is, can you create a feeling from your audience with your stuff? If the answer is yes, it's good. It doesn't matter what it is, it's good. If you can't, right, then that's when it's like, okay, what's going on? And I've learned this with myself. Is it something about what I've done personally? Do I not buy into this on some level, or did I fail to convey it in some way? I think that's a really important part of. Again, I'm speaking just as a storyteller, not an actor, because I'm sure I could try. It would be amusing to see me in front of the camera, but generally speaking, right. That's the work of an actor. What the actor's trying to do is, or actress, is connect in front of the audience, make them believe whatever it is that actor or actress is experiencing. Because ultimately, what stories are selling is experiences. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I always say Natalie Portman says it really well. She says acting is the act of empathy, and when somebody walks into a theater and sits there, you're taking them on a 2-hour-ish emotional journey where you're getting to show somebody else's life, and they're getting to connect to that person's life, and you're bringing them on that journey.
Mm-hmm. So Paul, you've been in front of the camera, you've been behind the camera. What do you like?
I do like both sides of it. I do like that with the writing and production side that I'm drawn to problem solving. I really am. So with writing a film and with producing and all the rest of that, it really is a never-ending job of problem solving and trying to find solutions that don't just make the problem go away, but make the overall production get better. So it's an incredibly challenging job. And I was recently listening to a podcast, and it was funny because one of the ladies that was a co-president at Disney, Nina Jacobs, was saying that there's two commonalities between every movie that's ever been made. They all want to be terrible and they don't want to get made, right? By nature, a production that large wants to fail or be mediocre, and it's your job as a production team to make sure that the tone of like Quinn was saying, the emotional tone does pull through, and that your lighting issue on set of that day doesn't take away from the emotion that still needs to be played through, and all the rest of that stuff. So it's a marvel to see a good script turn into a good film. And I definitely think we pulled that off with February's Dog, and it came down to a lot of hard work. Creatively, a lot of our cast and crew went above and beyond to make sure that, actors were helping move and lighting and other equipment around between takes, and, cast were working on production elements, and we just had a really good, solid team. And I think, again, that's something that you absolutely need. We've all seen films that are full of big-name actors, and we walked out and went, it was okay, and a lot of it comes down to there was no chemistry, right? You've got a bunch of me people that aren't team people.
Yes. Nothing to add to that? Or actually, Quinn, I should ask this. Do you want to get behind the camera, or are you more comfortable in front of the camera?
Well, I'm actually a professional boudoir photographer.
Okay.
As well. So I love being behind the camera and in front of the camera. I don't think I would be interested in doing it for film. I mean, maybe in the future down the line directing.
Well, that's a shock, so I should take you out producing the next film that you said you were going to...
No. I just love acting so much that I feel like if I had the option between the two, I would choose acting like 9 times out of 10. I should say.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it's not that I don't want to try it. And you know what? I am the type of person that I really kind of would like to try everything once.
Mm-hmm.
So I do see it in my future, but for now, I'm loving being in front of the camera as an actress.
Okay, a fun question for you both, because I get the feeling even with you, Paul, even though you enjoy being behind the camera, you love being in front of it too. What made you guys want to become actors?
I think for me, it's so much fun being able to create and be part of a creative environment that a lot of other environments that I've been in for work or other situations, you just don't really get to explore and express things and be as creative as being on set. And it's a wonderful experience to be part of a team that gets to create something and work together. Like, even when you're just hanging around with your friends, if you try something new and it doesn't quite work out, like a new joke or whatever, people make fun of you and ridicule you, and set seems to be this magical, being on set seems to be this magical thing where, really there's almost nothing you can do wrong as long as you're trying. So, I've always been drawn to movies and storytelling ever since I was a kid, and it's a magical job to get into if you can get into it and do it well. To be able to make a career making films and writing stories.
Yeah, I totally agree, Paul. I feel exactly the same way. I mean, I think too, for me, it was always, I'm so that type of person, as I said, that just wants to try everything. And what other job do you get to be a doctor one day, a cop the next day, a lawyer another day, or somebody working at a fun house in a carnival? Like, you can do anything as an actor, and you get to experience all these different things. If you're cast for a movie that there's a lot of dance in, you get to take dance lessons. You really learn that skill in real life. So you get to experience all of these different things, learn all of the variety of skills, and then share that with other people as well.
Very cool. So, besides this movie, what's your favorite movies? I'm curious on this one.
Paul?
I think my favorite Canadian film is One Week with Joshua Jackson that was produced by Avi Federgreen. I think it's a fantastic film, and I really wish that we would support more great storytelling like that within our own country. I mean, it's got such iconic Canadian locations and such iconic Canadian actors and singers and stuff in it. It's phenomenal. So I really like that one just because it's one of the very few films I think captures Canada in all its beauty. And man, I mean, there's just such a deep pool of other great films. I mean, comedy-wise, and seeing how even comedies changed from the 80s till now, I think, what was that Will Ferrell one? The House, where it's that married couple that runs a casino out of their house. That had to be one of the funniest concepts of a comedy I'd ever seen in quite some time. And then
I know it, movie you're talking about. It was good. I forget the name.
I think it was called The House, wasn't it?
It might have been. I know it though. It was good.
Yeah. Like just such a totally goofy, amazing concept. And then, films like The Green Mile and stuff like that. Just fantastic acting, great stories. I think those would be my two favorite, I guess I'd put forward.
Putting you on the spot, Quinn.
Oh, no, I know mine. I just thought Paul should go first. My favorite film is actually Secretariat. Horse movie. Typical from a horse girl. I know. But it's based on a true story, and I mean, February's Dog was kind of based on many true stories kind of woven together. And I just love movies in general that are based on true stories. I think it's really interesting to see stories put forward like that. There's a lot of really emotional and interesting things that happen in the movie. And fun fact, when they did Secretariat's autopsy, they figured out that the horse's heart was 2.5 times the size of an average horse's heart, which is why he was able to race the way he did. And his margin of win during his final race has never even been close to approached.
Huh.
Very cool. So I'm just going to ask this out of curiosity. Horse Girl, did you ever do anything like barrel racing? I'm just curious because you said
Yeah, I did like 12 plus years of Western lessons and barrel racing. I didn't compete in it, but I did a lot of it. And then I did a little bit of English riding as well. I really liked jumping. I was never really a competitive horse person, but I've ridden and owned horses my whole life.
Yep, I just curious. I dated a barrel racer once, so just kind of one of those kind of things where it's like, okay, Horse Girl, okay, I know exactly. I know your lingo a little bit anyway. So obviously you want to act some more, Quinn. So Paul, you were talking a little bit off the air. You got more stuff coming up, right?
Yeah. Got 4 other projects on the go right now, 2 that have been sent my way and 2 that have been picked up by other international film commissions, so pretty excited about that. It leads to a ton more work, but meeting just amazing people throughout the industry, and my experience in Cannes, although it was virtual this year, there was a lot of Zoom meetings like this, different conferences where you get to get a lot of cutting edge insight as to the directions that the industry is going in, and it felt really good to see that with my production company Luctor Pictures that we almost tend to be ahead of the curve on some of the stuff, in the sense that we want to make sure that in the future that we're putting people that might feel like they've had a lesser voice in film and in entertainment in positions of production and acting, and that one of the experiences that with February's Dog, with giving all the actors the ability to work with the script, what I took from that is to start creating compelling stories without giving too much away. We're going to 2 other different countries and making sure that we get in touch with producers and scriptwriters over there to make sure that it's not just my Canadian opinion of what would happen in that country, but that we involve those people from those regions to assist in telling that story in our story, so that we're including those voices in the choir of voices that make up film and entertainment right now. And it seems like a lot of the bigger studios are grappling with how to do that, because they still just like having their 5 writers produce everything.
Do you have anything like that, Quinn? Because I actually I have a theory behind that one. But do you have anything like that to his commentary there, or?
I think Paul hit it on the head there, and I mean he's obviously dealing with a lot more of that type of thing than I am as an actress.
Yes, fair enough. So here's the thing. What's going on is it's people know their formulas, right? Right. Everybody knows like how to put a certain type of film together, and for a very, very long time, it's been the same people with the same thing. And like anything else that transitions, when there's a transition going on, people don't want to give up what they know. Either they're comfortable with what works, and they don't want to give up the prestige that they have. Right? Change in those situations is very. Your dog is very, very happy. Yeah, you do what you gotta do. So
yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Josh. I listened to Producer's Guide with what was real blank on his name. It's a podcast And anyway, he brings on people that have been Hollywood producers for 20, 30 years, and a lot of them say the same thing. I was just listening to the one by the guy who did John Wick, and he actually had to go independent to make John Wick, because just like you were saying, the big studios, they've got their formulas, and when you're playing with a lot of money, I can understand why you don't want to take big risks, because if you take big risks often, you're going to incur big losses. So if you stick with the tried and true, you're more likely to get the same result.
I don't fully agree with that. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't fully agree with that, because here the thing is, sometimes the biggest hits, like the thing is, you're gonna strike out when you take a chance. That like life is about. So the cool thing about filming a movie is you can tell when you fail fast, because when you roll the tape, you can see if it works or it doesn't. But the thing about it is, and this is true with any enterprise, you have to take risk in life in order to get to newer ground, especially if you've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. I personally think Hollywood hit a creative bankruptcy because they kept taking I'm a writer. I have books. I love it that my books get adapted into film, but the thing is, it's an established property. Original films are very rare these days. And more often than not, they're not given the budget or the respect an established property is given. And I think what's going to change, as we get more, again, as we said, as you point out, we're getting more and more into human drama. We got the up close digital stuff. So the old formulas we used to cover up for with the lack of those things. Those things are there now. So now it's going to go back. I think in one sense it's going to go backwards to the old Hitchcock, the old directors that would actually understood storytelling. I think that's going to become even more important as time goes on.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. We're going back into the golden age. When it comes to storytelling, 100% agree. You know, and while in the 80s to maybe early 2000s, we were looking for the big CGIs, the explosion, and to see what we could do with Hollywood dollars, so to speak, to kind of wow a crowd next. Like, we blew up a whole building, we flooded a whole city and stuff like that. And now, like you were saying, we want to get back to the nuances of relationships. We want to understand human activities. And I think part of it is with digital filming is now you can see the background better. You can put the whole set into focus. And you can really stage things better, just like you could back in the days of, the golden age with Panavision coloring and all the rest of that stuff, that the whole thing would be in focus. We're going back into that age again with the technology that we have. And we want to see the background. We want to see the beautiful sets. And not to mention that one thing that's becoming clear is that the days of the $20 million actor in a film are kind of counting down, just because there's so much content being generated that even one particular studio, just pick one. I mean, they've got to put stuff on theater, they've got to get stuff on streaming, they've got to get stuff on multiple streaming services, and they're still dealing with that same pool of cash they had before. So for guys like you and me, well, really for all of us sitting here right now, it's wonderful, because it means there's more opportunities for actors, writers, producers, with all the content that's being demanded. So, and then when you're working with smaller budgets, just like you said, you've got to be more compelling with what you're dealing with. I mean, when you look at the script of Slumdog Millionaire, nothing about that script tells me that it was going to make $1/3 billion globally. But, the way you produce things, the way you act things, and the backdrops that you stage them in is really where the magic's coming from now.
Well, so one of my favorite movies, it's an independent movie, it's called The Disappearance of Alice Creed. I love that movie simply because it was filmed in one room. The drama, one room. The only thing, it was a kidnapping. So literally the first 5 minutes is essentially them cordoning off the room, completely blocking it out from reality. Then they see you bring the girl in that they kidnapped. And then, so you have a room, it established right away that there's no, the objective is really clear right at the beginning. She's trying to escape, they're trying to keep her there for money. It's very cool. Then inside this room is where all this drama unfolds, right? So this is the hotel room, basically. And I thought, this is an incredibly efficient script. It wasn't necessarily the greatest thing I've ever seen, but I really loved the ingenuity of how the film came together. It was like, that is clever. Right, so that's me. The other one I really, and I'm gonna tell you my all-time favorite movie. Don't laugh too hard. The Karate Kid, the original Karate Kid movie. I really dug that movie because it has so much depth in terms of characterization, and the reason it works is Pat Morita. Pat Morita makes that whole thing work. If he's not there, I'm not sure the book it's as good. So, and it's not just, and it's credit to everybody else in the script as well. Everybody in there did do their roles, did it so well. But Morita made Miyagi human, and because he did, I think the rest of the movie works. That's just my opinion, though. So,
I mean, even Paranormal Activity, that was filmed on a bunch of cheap camcorders and all in one house, the original one. So it's like keeping your locations simple is definitely a big thing if you're trying to do something like a short film or something low budget. You just want to get something out there. Simple locations is a huge thing.
Well, it's one of the things that I set out with when I was even in my head coming up with the concept for February's Dog was one thing that kind of bothers me in a sense when it comes to independent filmmaking is people that try to produce something beyond the budget that they actually are capable of. I mean, if you're trying to do a sci-fi film like you're in a spaceship on a $15,000 budget, it's going to be difficult to see the actors. It's going to be difficult to see the concept of the writing when your cardboard background is falling apart behind you, so to speak.
Science fiction production values have to be super high. Otherwise, it's just we were spoiled with Star Trek. To be perfectly blunt, we were spoiled with Star Trek. They have to be at that level. I actually I watched a comparison of Andromeda to Star Trek. Andromeda had a sexy looking ship, but the interior just looks terrible. It just looks terrible. Whereas if you look at Star Trek, it's so shiny. Like, that's sci-fi. Like, sci-fi has to look good, right?
But it's like the 100 that they produce out in Vancouver right now.
Yeah.
The 100 or 100, however you want to pronounce it. Same thing. They've got this. You've got to have the budget to CGI it. You've got to have the set deck. You've got to have the sound stage for all that stuff. But, with February's Dog, I sat down in my head and I'm like, okay, what sets do I have that I could work with? Like, a lot of them are family members of mine's houses or businesses and stuff like that, and really it all comes together and it works. And I think that's another one of the things when you're starting off as an independent that's really going to make you strong is work with what you've got. I mean, had we started creating scenes where we had to be in an NFL stadium in a packed house, and that's going to be difficult. That's not saying that you can never do that, but when you're just starting off, that you're going to limit the ability of your product, your production to even get off the ground if you have requirements for stuff like that. So, you can even still do good action films, good adventure films, good thriller films.
Horror is actually very doable. Very, very doable.
Yep. Horror, you really still can do the full genre, almost the full genre of films with next to no budget. Like, what was his name that did Paranormal Activity? I think it was Cassian Elvis that did that, but it was a $15,000 budget.
Yeah, so I mean, it can be done.
And it made what was it, $370 million at the box office, like
something crazy. It's one of the highest grossing films.
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of where that's kind of it. Like, storytelling is becoming heck, even marketing. It all starts and ends with storytelling. It really does, because no one wants to hear you sell a product. People want to get the feeling of that experience.
Well, even when people try to sell you a vacuum, they just sell you a lifestyle. Oh, you watch a Dyson commercial and it's sophisticated, modern home, and you're not just buying a vacuum. You think you're buying that modern.
That's right. That's right. Because we all want that.
You're a better person just because you bought this vacuum. Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. Coming soon to see us near you. No, it's okay. So I think we've had. Let's talk about the movie. What's it about? For anyone that's not heard of February's Dog, what's the elevator pitch?
Okay, you go, Quinn. I've done it enough.
Oh my goodness, no.
Da-na-na-na.
You're so good at it.
That's okay.
Okay. So are you passing it back then? Is that what you're saying?
She's like, in all fairness, it's your baby. You have to be the one to believe in it more than everybody else. It's the truth. It's the truth.
And you're the big dog.
Oh, I am not. I just want the dogs in the pack, but appreciate it. But
leader of the pack.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That works. So, February's Dog is about two guys, very typical. Hard-working blue-collar guys working away, working away to keep the lives that they've got, and they get a mysterious phone call by their boss on a Friday to come into the office, and they get laid off. But the boss is a very charismatic and personable person that says, don't go too far. I like you guys. We'll make a plan. We'll get you back in 3 months. So then we see the difference as one of the characters tries to play cautious and tries to stay busy and he's trying to be trusting of his boss, but he's skeptical of him, while the other guy just fully buys in and goes, wow, this is going to be awesome. It's a paid vacation. I'll be back to work in no time. And then from there we see a lot of the challenges that we're sadly seeing going on in society right now, when people start to deal with loss of meaning, loss of job, reduction of income, loss of income, and the struggles that come from a lot of that, and how they can cause internal problems, how they cause relationship issues. And it's good and bad at the same time that it's so relevant to what's going on in this coronavirus world, but it's sad because so many people can relate to it. I really wish that there weren't that many people going through that type of pain right now, but we do a wonderful job, and we didn't think that we would be making a film that would have this type of global connection right now, but it's like Alberta's a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to downturns and dealing with a lot of this stuff. And me personally, I kind of feel like I'm a bit more of a mentor to my friends down here in the South, living in Texas, as they're dealing with their first real heavy downturn, and having to have a lot more people lean on me and just try to teach the proper mental approaches, or the healthier mental approaches that will help you navigate those waters a lot more successfully, because better days always do come around again. So it's just a matter of getting them there. And so that's kind of the heart of what the story's about. And then we see Dale and Emily's relationship, and how the struggles that Dale's having impact their relationship. And again, there's just so much realism there that it was wonderful to be at something as big as the Cannes Film Market, and to hear people that have taken 10 to 15 years of classic training going, my God, that's amazing acting. Where did you find these people? And to tell them they're all feral, they don't even know stage commands. It was Jaws. I could hear Jaws hitting the floor in these video calls when I'm like, they're a bunch of background actors, but I thought we're worth the risk. What? Right?
Living proof that risks are worthwhile. So what's your role in the movie, Quinn? Who's your character?
I play Emily Walters, Dale's wife. So that's my character. He was just talking about it, how you get to experience kind of what she goes through, having her husband go through job loss, and the entire story I can't really talk about.
You can't really talk about. So I'm going to lead to one last question, then we get to the big magical giant picture and where people can find you guys and stuff. But it sounds to me that ultimately this film's, in one way or another, it deals with resiliency. And discovering your own, whatever that resiliency is, or lack thereof, that you have. Right? I think, is that a fair theme in this movie to talk about? That right? If that's the case, did this writing the story teach you anything about your own resiliencies? In your case, Paul, and you performing it.
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I really related to my character on a lot of levels.
Well, I hope so, because you threw out everything I wrote and rewrote it, so.
Funny. Hey, we created together.
It's a collaboration.
Exactly.
It's a collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, I think, too, it was very interesting for me personally, just feeling the difference between my character and my own experiences. I also dealt with a relationship, going through job loss and struggling with depression. So having been in that exact situation, struggling with my partner having depression, was interesting to see the differences in the way that I felt versus the differences that my character Emily felt when she was dealing with that type of thing. I mean, you start to fall into your character more and more, and you get to start feeling those feelings more and more. And for me, I definitely had even just some realizations about myself through figuring out who this character was. So it's nice. It was almost like, as an actress, you do get to experience all of these different emotions and these different experiences, and it's almost like an emotional release in some forms that you get to
based off of the experiences that myself and a lot of my co-workers and colleagues in the oil field went through in the downturn between 2015 and 2017. And sadly, a lot of the mistakes that we made because we just weren't equipped or understanding of healthier ways to deal with things. And, when you don't know how to swim and you find yourself in deep water, you're in trouble quickly. So for me, it was kind of a karmatic experience of kind of putting a meaning and understanding behind the pain that I went through and a lot of the other people that I know, and helping as best I can to alleviate or reduce that pain for other people once they get out and see the film and see it played out before their eyes, and hopefully make those mental connections between what's working and what doesn't by seeing it happen to somebody else. Because when you just wake up with it every morning and you're living it through, you're not really as observant as sometimes when it's right in front of you. And I think that's one of the amazing things that us as storytellers and film people have is, we do have the ability to impact people's lives in a positive or a negative way. And I think with February's Dog, we all quite passionately chose to try to make sure that we were always looking at impacting people in a positive way. We had all kinds of different options for things that would have looked amazing or been, brought a lot of cinematographical value to the film, but they would have taken away from our message. And to us, staying true to the message was more important. So, still going through the whole thing, still being on the production side of it, the learning and the growing hasn't stopped for me. So, seeing that sticking true to our message has not diminished our film in an international market sense brings a lot of value to it to me, that there are a lot of people that are seeking the truth of good storytelling, and that it's not that the whole market just wants to see big named actors doing expensive things, that they do want to see stuff like this. So it gives me a lot of hope for future filmmakers as well, that the whole scope of filmmaking is wide open. You just have to put your work in to do it.
The best thing about a time like this, as bad as it is, it's also a new beginning. Because again, the opportunities are wide open. It's just about choosing an avenue and just going for it. Because at this point, you don't really have much to lose. If you fail, you're backwards. You're not that. The bottom is not that far from where you already are at. So that's kind of the good thing. My own experiences with it, you learn resiliency just comes in a lot of ways, physically, mentally, just being able to go through and realize that the moment will pass. I think we have a good interview here, guys. What do you guys think?
Okay, Zach, thank you.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up. Like, we've already just talked about the movie. So just as a wrap up, why don't we just go for first Quinn and then Paul? Basically, how can people find you? If you got anything else coming up, and then when Paul closes, you can do the hard sell on February's Dog. But this way, people can find you guys and that kind of thing. So Quinn, so thank you guys for coming. And how can people find you?
All of my social media is the same. It's my full name, Quinn Teechma, Quinn, Teechma, Teechma, @hotmail.com. It's the same on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everything. If you did want to follow my photography, it's Queen Studios YYC. Also the same. And follow me, enjoy, and message me if you need anything.
Okay.
Definitely follow her. She's hilarious.
I might. I actually think she's got a cool personality. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Paul.
And you can follow. We've got a February's Dog Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. We're still learning Twitter. We're more Facebook and Instagram at this point in time, but we've got those. We've got the February'sDogMovie.com website and LogTourPictures.com to check out our future projects. So, yeah, we've got two of the productions that are moving into pre-production and out of concept. So we're moving forward with One Bad Dog with the Slovakian Film Commission, and moving forward with the Ruina trilogy with the Canary Island Film Commission. So those are two big exciting opportunities for us. So we're still in the early phases, and everybody's still trying to figure out when we get to go back to set and start filming. So, no production really can get past pre-production at this point in time. We don't know crew size or all the rest of the restrictions. So it's going to be exciting in the future. It's fantastic to see that we're going to be given these opportunities. And make sure you check out February's Dog. We are trying to get a theatric release together, and of course that's going to be dependent on when restrictions come off and when we can all go to theaters again, and when this virus isn't a winter Alberta release, and hopefully like early winter Alberta release, and Western Canadian release, and then late winter to spring for the rest of North America. And we should be on streaming by spring in the rest of the world too.
That is so cool. Okay. That's done.
This is Kathleen with BookBrush, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about BookBrush.com. Our team developed BookBrush for authors like you after having hundreds of conversations with authors that were struggling with creating images or simply paying too much per image to have a graphic designer do the job. So we created, for authors specifically, the easiest way to create professional ads and social media images for your books. We'd love to have you join us at bookbrush.com.
Let me help you tell your story. I offer a variety of audio services. I will narrate, I will produce, I will edit, and I will master your file so that it will be ready for Audible and Spotify. And if you don't want me to narrate your story, whether you want to do it or get someone else, I will help you find the right person for the job. All in all, I just want to help you tell your story. Let me help you. For information on my rates and services, please just click the link below in the podcast description, jpenteloresco.wordpress.com for more details. February's Dog's available now to watch. Go check it out, guys. Paul, Quinn, thank you very much. Quinn herself is actually doing a contest as we speak on Facebook, and I'm actually just pulling it up right now. She's doing a 50-50 draw to help her with Miss Canada. She's trying to go for Miss Canada. Now, I gotta tell you this, Quinn definitely looks the part. She has the talent. So if you guys want to check out her Facebook at Quinn Teechma, if you guys want to support her, she's an amazing talent. Go for the Miss Canada thing. But also check out what Paul's up to with February's Dog and other projects. And yeah, man, they're amazing people, and honestly, it's always a pleasure to get them. And one last note, I should make a quick thank you to Jill Maria Robinson for introducing us. So Jill, thank you. I hope you're well. That'll do it for this episode. Just Josh, if you want to support the podcast, you can do so a number of different ways. You can subscribe to the podcast. I'm on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Deezer. I am everywhere and anywhere. Just simply click like, subscribe, tell people about it. That'd be awesome. My book, Alice Zero, comes out September 8th, illustrated by Kenzie Carr, written by myself. It's Alice in Wonderland is Greek mythology. Alice is Pandora. It's epic poetry like you've never seen before. My book, The Cloud Diver, illustrated by Lance Braun, written by myself, is available now. I have merchandise. I have a newsletter in the links below. Stay inspired, guys. Keep doing your thing, and I'll talk to you guys next week. My next reading guest will blow you away.